We live in a complex and unfair world where the way things work don't make much sense. Those in power tell stories to keep us blinded and distracted from this cruel reality. But those stories have become increasingly unconvincing, desperate, and hollow. This is a short film about why those stories have stopped making sense, and how this has led to a powerful new global movement. It is told through the events of an epic and shape-shifting year. This is Vegan 2016. Following 2015, veganism could no longer be ignored. It caused the meat industry to react.
There's a lot of resistance when you talk about veganism.
But what if this response is a sign that times are changing? Veganism is growing while the animal agricultural industries are trying desperately to hold on to their profits. And to understand exactly how this is happening, you have to look firstly to the events of early 2016. Early 2016 centred around Dr. Michael Greger.
Please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Greger.
Dr. Greger is an American physician and public health expert. For years, his views had been ignored by the mainstream, but in 2016, something very different happened. His new book reached the New York Times top 10 bestsellers list, and all of a sudden, he was in the media spotlight.
Dr. Michael Greger.
Dr. Michael Greger.
We've got Dr. Michael Greger here.
There's only one diet ever been proven to reverse heart disease in the majority of patients, a plant-based diet. If that's the only thing a plant-based diet can do, reverse a number one killer, number two killer here in the UK, shouldn't that be the default diet until proven otherwise? And the fact that it can also prevent, arrest, or reverse other leading killers, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, would seem to make the case simply overwhelming.
And Greger's assertion that this information is being distorted by institutions appeared to hold true in 2016 when the US dietary guidelines came out.
The government is out with new guidelines.
The new guidelines from the USDA and Department of Health and Human Services are supposed to tell you what to eat, but critics say they're muddled and confusing, and not by accident.
Critics say the guidelines don't go far enough.
There's new controversy over the American diet.
The government is dropping this recommendation to limit egg consumption on foods high in cholesterol.
Instead of saying eat less meat, they say less than 10% of your diet should come from saturated fat.
People don't know what a saturated fat is.
Instead of eat less meat, eggs, dairy, junk, what do they say? Eat less saturated and trans fatty acids, things like that. Biochemical components, right? Because they don't want to mention foods because that's too politically unpalatable.
The meat, dairy, and egg industries are huge investors in the government, as is the pharmaceutical industry.
The meat industry does not want the American government saying, eat less meat.
We are being manipulated by an industry that thinks that we are cash cows.
These are multi-billion-dollar industries that put a huge amount of effort, not just into advertising their products, but into changing federal policy.
Dr. Neil Barnard is president of the nonprofit Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which is suing the government, claiming the egg industry used its influence to try to weaken warnings about cholesterol.
The egg industry is paying universities, where these people are then put on the committee to decide whether eggs are safe or not. That's a conflict of interest.
And another industry, the mainstream media, has attempted to influence consumers' preferences this year. Throughout 2016, they've provided a vaudeville of anti-vegan content, bringing attention to veganism in a very biased way.
There's a story in the paper today, the headline, "Fashionable veganism is harming health."
It's also vegan.
You can't get all the nutrients you need.
They can go and get some lamb.
Some can end up deficient in vitamin D, calcium and iron.
But unfortunately, vegetarians and vegans haven't seen the funny side of it. Get a sense of humour is what I would say.
Protein, iron deficiencies are the common ones if you're not eating the right foods.
It's that devious, treacherous group, the vegans.
But maybe these media journalists aren't really journalists any longer. Without realising it, they've become instead contrarians and puppets, whose real job is to make us confused. And when we're confused about what to eat, we stick to old habits. And these old habits feed the power and wealth of the meat, dairy, and egg industries.
A CSIRO survey has found 1 in 6 Australians are ditching dairy without a medical diagnosis. It's leading to dangerous levels of serious health risks arising from a lack of calcium.
When you look at the plant sources like broccoli, etc., you need to literally consume 20 cups of broccoli to get anywhere near the amount of calcium in a cup of milk.
That's just not true. We grow up believing we need to drink cow's milk for calcium so we don't get osteoporosis. That's not true.
We've been conditioned since school. We need calcium from cow's milk. We need protein from animal flesh.
The public is being lied to, right? There are big money commercial interests that are trying to twist the truth.
And it became stranger when the Washington Post ran an article implicating Dr. Greger's website nutritionfacts.org, which was bizarrely accused of being part of a Russian propaganda campaign, an indication once again of the mainstream media's anti-vegan rhetoric.
You are not going to get this information from the powers that be because those institutions are controlled. The media is controlled by the meat and dairy industry.
Like with the tobacco industry in the 20th century, the animal agriculture industry manipulates a constant state of confusion and misinformation. And whenever there is opposition, industry absorbs it, for example by using the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act. This act, which is still in force in 2016 and used against animal rights activists, states that anyone disrupting the business of an animal enterprise is committing an act of terrorism.
If you just affect the profits of this industry, even by telling the truth, you can be considered doing something breaking the law, at least in this country. That is how powerful this industry is.
If you go film inside the place where they make food, you go to jail. They bought your politicians, they bought your vegan is the name of the book.
But at the dark heart of this corrupt force in 2016 is the way industry siphons off large quantities of government wealth. For example, in 2016, the meat and dairy industry insisted on taking $30 billion from the US government in the form of subsidies. And this was especially strange, given that fruit and vegetables were only subsidised 0.04% compared to meat and dairy.
Our governments hold international conferences to address climate change and seek solutions. All the while, the single most devastating force behind our planet's environmental collapse remains not only unspoken, but actually actively denied by the very organizations charged with saving our planet.
Animal agriculture is responsible for 16% of greenhouse gas emissions, compared to the 13% of all global transportation. This was according to a 2016 report funded by the United Nations Environment Programme, and backs up previous reports by the FAO and World Watch. And there is now a general consensus that animal agriculture is the leading cause of not just global warming, but also water depletion, deforestation, species extinction, ocean dead zones, antibiotic resistance, and the inefficient feeding of a growing population. But given that 2015 was the hottest year on record, why does the issue of animal agriculture remain largely unspoken? Why have the studies that have come out in 2016 been ignored?
That's what the meat and the dairy industry have accomplished so far.
Why are ag laws sweeping the US, which aim to hide the practices of factory farming? Is it because we're collectively revealing the truth about animal agriculture?
Thanks to the internet age, we now have this democratization of information. Now everyone has access.
Something just in the past couple of years, you can just kind of feel it. Like this transformation of just information passes so fast, you can't hide things from people.
Unlike before, the institutions in the meat and dairy industries do not have as much power. No longer do they hold a monopoly as gatekeepers of knowledge.
Increasingly, people know what's wrong with animal products.
Today's generation is growing up with considerable knowledge about the environment and how individual decisions can impact it.
The single best thing that you can do to help the environment and help animals and your health is to adopt a plant-based diet.
Due to the internet, resources are now available online, and information about the horrors and impact of animal agriculture are clear for the world to see. Thought-provoking documentaries like Plant Pure Nation are now up, as well as others, and more are due to come out, which all highlight the growing consensus that a plant-based vegan diet is optimal for health.
The healthiest diet for the vast majority of people is an exclusively plant food diet.
I've never seen anything come close to the breadth and depth of benefits that a plant-based diet provides.
Here are the 15 leading reasons Americans die, and a plant-based diet can help prevent nearly all of them can help treat more than a half of them, in some cases even reverse the progression of disease.
If we aren't eating animals for health, and we don't need to kill and eat them to survive and be healthy, what are we doing this to them for?
Perhaps because of this increased awareness, veganism has broken growth and sales records in 2016. For example, the vegan hashtag on Instagram has been used 25% more this year. Vegan festivals are attracting record numbers, and the vegan restaurant finding app Happy Cow say they're growing exponentially, with restaurant entries in 176 countries worldwide. Even in places renowned for their meat-centric culture, there were signs indicating veganism is being embraced. And in the US, while vegetarian menus were shown to be up 66%, veganism has been on the march in the UK.
How many vegans do you know? This is the question. Well, the answer is probably more than you think, because there's a new survey printed today that we're going to talk about that says the number of vegans in Britain has gone up by how much, Sarah Jane?
A whopping 350%.
Whopping.
Welcome to the vegan movement, right?
That's right.
There is a movement happening.
As a result, more and more businesses are realising the increasing popularity of vegan foods, with many companies and restaurants releasing products this year. Pret a Manger's veggie store experiment, for example, was a great success. So much so that the company have now decided to make it a permanent fix and plan to roll out similar stores soon.
As consumers start voting with our dollars and purchasing foods that are aligned with our values and aligned with our interests and eating more plants and fewer or no animal products, the companies who have been selling animal foods and all kinds of other things to us are going to adjust. And we saw that with Hellmann's starting now to sell a vegan mayonnaise, and I think others will follow suit. Tyson, a huge meat company, recently invested in a vegan plant-based company called Beyond Meat. And I think those trends will continue.
And if people ask for vegan meals, well, guess what? Pretty soon they start offering vegan meals because they don't care. They just want your money.
The reason that so many companies in cosmetics and food are changing is because they're now registering that sentiment that exists in the marketplace, saying, hey, we've got to change, because people are figuring this out.
A number of articles have been written this year about the meat substitute market, including in many high-profile outlets, predicting how this market is soon to affect the global economy, and it has caused the meat industry to take notice.
Very recently, in the Meeting Place magazine, which is a leading industry meat publication, the cover story was on plant-based meats. It was on,
meat substitute market.
Right, meat substitute market. And they're saying, look, we got the distribution, we got the machines, we got like the sausage making machines. These vegan companies are taking away our market share. Let's get into this.
They have learned how to extract actual red blood from plants, and they have essentially make a vegetarian vegan burger that actually has real blood.
Everything you enjoyed before, you can enjoy. You like burgers, we got veggie burgers. You like bread, we got anything you want. You like ice cream, we got ice cream. Like anything. Okay, that's great. That's a way to slowly shift the market, shift people over.
We have got to make our businesses not just compassionate, but they've got to be better than the alternative products. That is absolutely the key. And I didn't think of that myself. I actually heard it from one of the most dynamic vegan businessmen in the world, Josh Tetrick.
Jim, there are 400,000 species of plants out there, and you got to ask yourself why 92% of them haven't been looked at to make your food better. And we got a team of data scientists led by a guy that used to lead Google Maps and YouTube's data team, biochemists, computational biologists, phenomenal chefs and food scientists that find the best of them.
Of Hampton Creek, whose Just Mayo is rocking the world and saving millions of animals because he's come up with a vegan mayonnaise, and I hear that he's going to come up with a vegan egg scramble that's going to be out soon. It's going into institutions, it's going into big businesses. I believe 7-Eleven announced recently they're going to only be using Just Mayo on its sandwiches. But what he said to me is, and I really thought that this was absolutely the most crucial thing when it comes to vegan businesses. They can't just be good. They can't just be compassionate. They can't just be coming from the right place. They've got to be 1,000% better than the alternative product.
In 2016, Eric Schmidt, the executive director of Alphabet, who is Google's parent company, ranked vegan meat as the most important trend in tech. This came amid what was one of the leading news stories of the year, A group of investors, under an initiative of holdings worth more than $1 trillion, pressured the 16 leading food companies, including Tesco, Walmart and Target, to switch from animal-based protein to plant-based protein. And as 2016 progressed, large corporations including General Mills and Danone invested in companies that have found success in replacing animal products with plants. Also this year, a new documentary has come out on cultured meat, an area that is rapidly gaining attention and funding.
This is a viable solution for the meat, dairy, and egg eaters of the world who just simply refuse to stop eating those animal products, those animal body parts.
However, because lab-grown meat uses cells from animals, there are some critics who argue that this industry is unnecessary and doesn't challenge the social norm that eating meat is natural. They argue that plant-based meats that have moved beyond theory and into commercial production are a better solution. That said, whether it's imitation meat from plant or animal cells, it is clear that this market is trending and will continue to receive widespread media attention. By the year 2020, the meat substitute market is predicted to be worth over $5 billion globally, and with the urgency of the climate impact and ethical concerns over the animal agriculture industry, there is a groundswell for meat alternatives to capture market share and overtake the production of traditional meat. Meanwhile, 2016 was the first year that meat taxes were seriously considered. For example, the Danish government has plans to implement a tax on beef pretty popular. This backed up proposals from UN expert Professor Martin Hager this year, who called for a worldwide tax on all animal products. And in China, the Ministry of Health urged citizens to limit animal product consumption, with the aim of reducing meat consumption by 50%, while the UK dietary guidelines reduced the recommended dairy consumption, which angered the dairy industry. This was compounded by announcements made throughout the year about the struggling milk market.
In the UK, 1 in 10 dairy farms have closed in the last 3 years. In the US, consumption levels are down, which led to a scandal where the US dairy industry actually killed 500,000 cows just to push up the price of milk. That's crazy. They killed 500,000 cows just to slightly inflate the price of milk. So this corruption is real, and it's being revealed and it's being prosecuted. The US dairy industry was fined $52 million last month. And this is all happening while the dairy-free market, the soy milks, almond milks, vegan cheeses, this market is growing rapidly. A new report came out this year which predicted that this market is due to be worth $35 billion globally by the year 2024.
And as demand for cow's milk further plummeted, the dairy industry had to call once again on the US government's might for financial assistance.
A groundbreaking new show that's going to debut on A&E's FYI network. And celebs are here tonight. The beautiful Katy Perry, the glamorous and gorgeous Simone Reyes of Death Pictures. Now, I know you're very soft-spoken, but speak up.
I will speak up.
Speak up. Why are we here?
We're here to support a vegan diet, a healthy lifestyle, and to teach people that it's really important to live consciously and compassionately.
The plant-based lifestyle also received new support this year from a number of large social media channels.
So before I get into this video, I'm gonna make a little bit of a disclaimer. I have been vegan for a little bit now, and I love it.
I do eat a plant-based diet, so I don't eat any meat or any animal byproducts.
And let me tell you, I never touched meat again. I literally canceled my dinner plans and I said, I'm vegan now.
Vegan body. I really like it.
Good. I'm glad you like it.
It's weird. Fake chicken tastes better than real chicken.
Right?
Yeah.
So good.
The more research you do, the more you are just absolutely turned off and grossed out by it.
I 100% believe that I will see a vegan earth before I die.
Other big channels that promoted veganism this year include Ricky Dillon and Natalie Tran, and it has never been easier to live vegan. Online access to vegan food and garments from sites like veganshoppinghub.com are proving popular to even the most isolated vegans, and a number of celebrities have promoted the lifestyle. Singer-songwriter Sia donated $50,000 to an animal charity. Sharon Osbourne has publicly condemned the savagery of wearing fur. Musician Morrissey refused to play at non-vegan venues and spoke out about live exports. Famed film director James Cameron teamed up with Arnold Schwarzenegger in a campaign that urged people to eat less meat. Leonardo DiCaprio shared pro-vegan videos on his Twitter page. French entrepreneur and Vine and Snapchat star Jerome Jarre's been directing his following to vegan documentaries. And others have spoken out, including Ellie Goulding, Miley Cyrus, Professor Green, Lenny Kravitz, Stevie Wonder, Kat Von D, Venus Williams, NFL star Griff Whalen, six-time world poker champion Daniel Negreanu, and Pamela Anderson.
Compassion is in fashion, it's sexy, and I think we have to do something to save the world.
Fast and Furious actress Michelle Rodriguez has switched to a vegan diet, as well as Ariana Grande, hip-hop star Wiley, rapper 360, DJ Khaled, and NFL star Tyrann Mathieu. Paramore's lead singer Hayley Williams released a new vegan hair dye company called Good Dye Young. Kylie Jenner launched a new vegan lipstick. Hip-hop god Russell Simmons released a new book called The Happy Vegan. Harry Potter actress Savannah Lynch gave public speeches about veganism. And tennis giant Novak Djokovic and Moby have both opened vegan restaurants.
I think celebrities are a very important part of our movement. They allow us to reach a lot of people, but they're part of that air game, right? They reach them in a more superficial way.
In terms of more grassroots outreach, there have been a huge number of developments this year. In May, there was the first ever International Earthlings Experience Day. Anonymous for the Voiceless have gone global. The organisation Veganuary, whose campaign was twice as popular in 2016 compared to 2015, rolled out public transport adverts in London. And in New York, there was the largest ever vegan billboard campaign. In addition, following Anita Cranks' arrest for giving water to a thirsty pig last year, vigils known as pig saves, held outside slaughterhouses, gained widespread growth. And as animal welfare standards dropped, animal rights activists, who were once regarded as the pedagogic outcasts, took on a somewhat unlikely role as consumer watchdogs, entering slaughterhouses and exposing ailing conditions.
This industry is all about productivity. It doesn't care about the animal's welfare, it doesn't care about the animal's well-being or their psychology. It's about producing as much as possible with as little.
Under horrendous conditions. I mean, they can't move. They will, especially with breeders, they can't even often walk. And disease is rampant.
That's it. I mean, 80% of all antibiotics sold in the United States go into animal agriculture because these animals live in such horrendous conditions. The only way to keep them alive is to feed them drugs.
Right. And they're essentially, tortured their entire life and then slaughtered.
I don't think it's an exaggeration at all to say that.
And that's why we have ag laws, because if people actually saw how their meat products were being produced, it would be so appalling that it would be very hard to consume these products.
Correct, you said what's written here is far from reality. Exactly what is not true?
Raised cage-free, you saw it. That's what they call cage-free. You can cram them in there till they can't move. But if there's not a cage in there, they call them cage-free.
I find this pretty hard to take. These mothers have just given birth recently, and they're in what are called farrowing crates. You can see the mothers can barely move.
But we're told that we have the best animal welfare standards in the world. What would you say to that?
It's a complete lie.
The worst offenders on this planet, pedophiles, sex offenders, murderers, do not get treated anywhere near as badly as the way we treat the most innocent and vulnerable beings on this planet.
They have their tails cut off without painkillers. They have their ears notched, big chunks of skin cut out of their ears. The males are castrated without painkillers.
Pigs spending their days like this. And this place is filthy. There's rats, there's maggots, there's flies. It's disgusting.
Prompted by the increased awareness of the meat industry's darkest secrets, there were a number of protests around the world in 2016. In London, a small march turned much bigger and vehement, prompting police to shut down the streets. And it was the events from this day that provided a powerful and stark vision of the coming battle between two sides of history.
And at times it can seem so helpless for us. I know we go about our daily lives and it seems that we are alone. And the society doesn't care about the plight of animals, the plight of the environment. and it can be incredibly overwhelming for all of us. But this is a reminder for everyone here today that you will never ever be alone. This is a fraction of the vegans in our country.
I think it's a sort of watershed moment. Yeah, like something to build on. You know, this is maybe 2,500 people here today. You know, this will be 10,000 next year. There's 600,000 vegans in the UK. You know, you've had the allies side, you have vegetarians, you have people who just care about animals. You know, there's no reason we can't have 100,000 people in a march like the suffragettes did in the Hyde Park 100 years ago.
We have to stand strong for the animals. For the 3,000 animals that are mercilessly slaughtered every second in the name of food, in the name of clothing, in the name of medicine and cosmetics. What a disgrace. What a disgrace! I cannot believe that we are here fighting for this. I cannot believe these animals are not being given basic fundamental rights, that we have to put these marches on. That makes me so angry. Woo! Woo! I can't believe in this day and age we still have to fight oppression. I can't believe we have to stand up and make the politicians and the general public listen to our demands. We are supposed to be a compassionate species. Do we not hear this every day that we're evolved, right? This is what we get told as vegans. We're evolved. We're above animals. If we're above animals, then why can't we start using emotions like empathy? That's what's supposed to make us more evolved, right? Our emotional capacity. So why don't we use them? Why don't we show empathy and compassion and mercy to these innocent beings that have never done anything wrong to us? How can we possibly allow ourselves to fit into a society that thinks compassion is extreme? What a ludicrous world we are living in. We have to take a step back, and we have to do what's right for everyone. We have to do what's right for the planet, because if we carry on the way we're going, as you all know, we will have no planet to live on. We're here today fighting for the rights of the animals, fighting for the rights of the environment, and fighting for the rights of humans that are also oppressed in the animal agriculture industries.
This is not some mundane diet choice. This is the difference between enslavement and freedom, between torture and peace, between death and life. This is serious, and you understand it, and you are a part of this revolution.
In 2016, social media was named as one of the largest threats to the animal agriculture industry. According to Global Meat News, social media has been instrumental in spreading negative views about the meat industry among millennials. David Dobbin, chief executive of United Dairy Farmers, said the younger generation are causing the fall-off in demand for milk, an indication that big dairy are feeling threatened and unhinged. And the field of technology has been another area that the vegan community has influenced. New alternative research methods are being used in medicine for drug testing that do not use animal models. Other technologies also come out, such as iAnimal, and animal rights activists have claimed a number of victories, starting with SeaWorld.
But this morning, SeaWorld CEO announcing a change in the tides, saying all of its signature orca shows will be coming to an end.
Sea Shepherd, an anti-poaching and marine conservation organisation, have now effectively shut down illegal fishing in Antarctica. In the fashion world, leather sales plummeted, and existing companies have switched to more ethical materials. And media outlets like Vogue have started to promote vegan products. In addition, in the movie world, the pro-vegan film The Herd won many awards and is free online for the world to see. And the acclaimed animated film Bear Story, which is about the brutality experienced by circus animals, won the Best Animated Short Film at the Oscars.
Bear Story, Gabrielle Osorio.
In 2016, many professional athletes have switched to a vegan diet, inspired by many long-term vegan athletes who have been thriving and setting new records.
Such as David Hay, you may as well sign up to face a firing squad at dawn. He's a massive right hand.
And we swing now. Get your foot on it to the feet. There we go. Is a vegan coming? Is that like Mr. Spock? That's Malcolm. Coming Malcolm. I give up. He's known as the live wire, and it's another electrifying performance. Here we go. He's got the
as well, but it's a rare occurrence to see a boxer get forward with a jab. And Arnold Jajai just appears to be looking for a place to fall.
Every time he's hit here, isn't he?
He appears to be looking for a place to fall here every time he's hit with a shot. David Haye, well, I'm sure he's received more opposition during sparring than he's receiving here. Arnold Jajai being completely overwhelmed.
Wow, that's huge.
Oh, man.
That's huge.
And that ties his best ever.
Yeah.
Also recently, Tesla have announced that the new SUV model is vegan, live animal testing is no longer included in MD programs in the US, plant-based conferences such as those organised by VegSource and the Physicians Committee have seen record attendances, daycare centres are going plant-based in Finland, vegan medical clinics have opened up in the US, and the world's largest organisation of nutrition professionals declared vegan diets to be very healthy and can prevent and treat chronic diseases.
Medicine is on the absolute cusp of a seismic revolution in health.
Also this year, the Netherlands placed a hard limit on the recommended meat consumption. The environmental organisation Greenpeace have started to talk about the benefits of veganism. The world's happiest man became vegan, and national awards have gone to vegan butcher shops and pies. With vegan products coming out all of the time and plant-based foods predicted to be a top trend next year, it is clear that veganism is starting to disrupt our economic system.
I'm a street fighter. I'll get down and dirty with you. I'll do whatever I can to save your children, to save your community, to save our medical care system, to save the environment, and even these days to save the animals.
But there were some odd events in 2016. SeaWorld employed a number of staff, but it was revealed many worked to spy on vegans. Singing star Christina Grimmie continued her animal rights activism, but was shot dead in June. Hunting videos were actively promoted by YouTube, but vegan educational videos were often censored. Turin in Italy was tipped to be Europe's first vegan city, but an Italian member of parliament wanted vegan parents jailed.
Lawmakers in Italy are drafting a law that could put parents in prison if they impose veganism on their children.
It sums up the strange mood of our time, where even though the vegan lifestyle has never before been more popular, there is still so much resistance.
The movement and the message is happening, but in the other direction I've seen a tremendous amount of hurdles and difficulties.
Listen, I don't know what it means. I just know that I'm supposed to hate it.
Why are you supposed to hate it?
The internet tells me to hate it.
Vegan is basically no animal products, period. Like,
okay, I do hate it.
There are a number of political, economic, and certainly cultural hurdles that we need to continue to work on.
There is a constant drum of indoctrination into carnism. So you're hit with billboards as you're driving, and you're hit with commercials that subliminally connect eating meat to everything from sex appeal to patriotism to status to all sorts of things. And these are just subliminal manipulations to keep people eating meat because people are making money off of it.
I'm in despair over the deception that's misleading the public. With all this propaganda, the animals don't have a chance.
We're running up against some we're walking into some tall grass.
We're fighting, big pharma and big dairy, and that's going to be hard.
It's a steep hill to climb sometimes, but it's worth it because this is the truth.
The karmic debt that we're accumulating by this massive slaughter is unjustifiable on every level. We're at a crisis point. I think we're also at a very interesting and exciting moment where openness to the vegan movement, to the vegan lifestyle, to trying to live our life in a more sustainable, sort of, karmically aligned way has never been more well received or in vogue.
The single most effective thing anyone can do to both improve their own personal health as well as improve the chances of healing this environment and having our species survive on this earth is to reduce or preferably eliminate your consumption of animal flesh and dairy products.
It's the biggest and most urgent secret that finally, thank goodness, is getting out.
Looking back at the last 12 months, 2016, like last year, showed significant progress in the way the mainstream started to adopt veganism. However, vested interests impeded momentum more than ever. But plant-based news will continue to follow this struggle over the coming years, so join us as we gather the stories shaping this movement and endeavour to document the rise of justice. Thank you so much to everyone that supported this film and to my special supporters on Patreon. And for more information on the news stories in this film and for all the news throughout 2017, please go to plantbasednews.org.